Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The characteristic of a good language teacher in the digital age. Good morning, everyone. Today we are going to discuss a very important question. What kind of language teacher do we need in the digital age? In the past, being a good language teacher was already demanding. Today, the role is even more complex because teachers are expected to teach well, connect with students, and also use digital tools wisely. I want you to remember one the key idea from the beginning: technology does not replace a good teacher. Instead, it challenges the teacher to grow. So in this session, we will look at the main characteristics of a good language teacher today, especially in relation to language mastery, pedagogy, digital literacy, student engagement, and continuous professional growth. Let's talk about learning objective. By the end of our discussion, I expect you to be able to identify the main characteristic of a good language teacher in digital era and explain why these characteristics matter in real classrooms. I also want you to connect the ideas with your future professional identity. As English education students, you are not only learning theories, you are preparing to become teachers. So while we discuss its characteristic, I want you to ask yourself, do I already have this quality? And if not, how can I start developing it? Let's turn to why this topic matters today. Why is this topic so important today? Because your future your future students are growing up in a world where digital tools are normal. They learn from videos, social media, apps, AI tools, games, and online communities. So language learning no longer happens only from textbook or classroom lectures. This means the teacher's job is not just to deliver content. The teacher must help students learn critically, communicate ethically, and use digital tools in ways that really support learning. In other words, a good language teacher today must know not only what to teach, but also how to teach in a world shaped by technology. And let's talk about the characteristic one, the first characteristic of uh, a good language teacher in the digital age. Well, um, strong proficiency. This is one of uh, important, one of the most important characteristics here. Strong language proficiency. A language teacher must have a solid command of the language because students learn only from the explanation but also from the teacher's model. Your pronunciations, grammar, vocabulary choice, classroom expression, and even your spontaneous responses all become input for students. But language proficiency is not just about sounding fluent. It is also about being able to explain language clearly. A good teacher can simplify complex grammar, choose useful examples, and help students understand how language works in real communication. So, if you want to become a good English teacher, you must continue improving your own English in both accuracy and natural use. And then the second characteristic, strong pedagogical knowledge. Knowing English is not enough. Some people are fluent in English, but they cannot teach it well. Why? Because teaching requires pedagogical decision. A good teacher understands how students learn languages, what difficulties they may face, and what kind of support they need at different stages. For example, sometimes students need explicit explanations such as when learning sentence patterns or pronunciation rules. At other times, they need communicative practice such as pair work, role play, or task-based interaction. A good teacher knows when to explain, when to guide, when to let students explore, and how to design activities that lead to meaningful learning rather than passive learning. And the characteristic three, or the third characteristic, uh, digital literacy and digital pedagogical competence. A good language teacher today must be able to use digital tools confidently, but more importantly, purposely. The question is not, can I use this app? The more important question is, why should I use it? And how will it help my students learn better? A digitally competent teacher can choose the right tools for the right purpose. Maybe a collaborative board is useful for brainstorming vocabularies. Maybe a video platform is useful for listening and speaking reflection. Maybe AI can help generate practice materials, but the teacher still needs to evaluate quality, bias, and relevance. So digital competence is not about being impressed by technology, it's about making professional decisions with technology. Let's turn to characteristic 4. Characteristic 4 is the ability to engage students through innovative teaching. Another important characteristic is the ability, once again, to engage students in the digital age. Students are surrounded by fast visual interactive content. If classroom teaching is always passive and predictable, many students will lose focus quickly. So a good language teacher needs to design lessons that are active, meaningful, and engaging. This does not mean every lesson must be entertaining like social media. It means students should have a reason to participate. For example, you can use role plays, mini project discussion, tasks, digital storytelling, peer feedback, or problem solving. When students are mentally and emotionally involved, language learning becomes more memorable. A good teacher creates that involvement. And we are going to talk further characteristic of good English teachers in the digital age in the next meeting. Thank you very much for your attention, and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.